Welcome back around to theCUBE's live coverage of AWS reInvent 2025. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We're here for 3 days of wall-to-wall coverage, full day tomorrow as well. All the action, our 13th year covering AWS reInvent. We've seen the evolution of the genius of cloud, abstracting away servers and hardware and systems and infrastructure to now abstracting away data and work as agents bring that whole nother step function level of change. Big part of the announcements here. Colleen Aubrey here is SVP of Applied AI Solutions at AWS, formerly with Amazon, building out some of their largest businesses on the Amazon side. Great to see you again.
Thank you
Thanks for making the time. So you're starting to see this next level. And we kind of chatted about it last time we were talking on theCUBE in Seattle around Connect, how Amazon has all these kind of things that you can see. Now you see Swami and Matt and the team saying, wow, what if we think differently around software development?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the core. I mean, agents are like a side effect of that. You got Frontier agents and you got Nova Forge, two big announcements that jump off the page that's going to enable that. But at the end of the day, it's software development transformation. And they dropped a legacy system. They blew up something on Monday. I saw that spectacle. But it's whether it's writing code for apps or migration, you're starting to see the new paradigm. How do you talk about that? I know you've been giving a lot of speeches. I heard you got great reviews of the analyst session.
Yeah, so I think certainly last time we talked, which was like in the summer, middle of the summer sometime, I think I had started to talk about this idea of AI teammates. And certainly this has become more and more crisp for me. And I think our Frontier agents with Kiro developer agent, the security and DevOps are examples of now I have an AI teammate. And as a developer, I'm managing this team. I'm delegating, supervising, I'm auditing, I'm like giving feedback, I'm coaching, and then asynchronously work is starting to happen on my behalf. And so, you know, for me, this idea of AI teammates, I think it applies to every function, every industry, every business. And so that's sort of a mission that we're on.
And you think about the frontier models and now frontier agents, the word frontier actually means something. Before LLMs had frontier status, which is either some people define as taking new ground or doing new things or capabilities. It was kind of boring, a chatbot. And then you got reasoning, that became frontier models. Frontier agents have a similar thing where pre-frontier, they were just agents, but now they have more long-standing thinking. They can do tasks. And so I get that. But I want to get your thoughts on some of the industry jargon. So it's been said in the industry, AI is like having a bunch of interns. And okay, they technically are teammates, but I don't want just interns. I want to have scope, domain intelligence, Kiro, autonomous coding, that's some domain experience, DevOps agents, that's like having an engineer on call, and then security, those are the three agents came out. So that's the distinction between the collection of interns versus real teammates. How do you think about what teammates do? Obviously, we all want to have the best teammates, A players, hire A players. So how does that apply to the AI side?
Yeah, so for me, a teammate is, it's a capability that's going to develop over time. So firstly, I agree with you. Like having like a jack of all trades, something that does a little bit of everything, there's some usefulness to that. And I think that's a little bit, you know, I might describe we've been in the jack of all trades AI era for a little while. And it's been, you get AI doing tasks. Can you just like do that one thing? Yep, I can take care of that. That's awesome. And so, but I don't, that's not like an expertise. It's not like having an expert that you can work with that brings deep understanding of a particular area, that really understands how that work needs to happen, that understands what good looks like. So I think with our frontier agents in the development space, you know, it's an area we're very familiar with in AWS and at Amazon. And so we have a good amount of knowledge that helps us to develop now something that a teammate that's going to grow, develop, earn my trust, start to provide feedback, start to collaborate with me, will over time become better and better every day. And I think that's the thing. I want an AI teammate that gets better every day.
You know, Matt Garman told me in my interview, his quote was, generic tokens are useless unless they know your business, and referring to tokens and tokens per watt, that kind of thing. And he's kind of getting at the whole generic reasoning or jack of all trades comment. And you look at Kiro, one of the things I liked about the news was it adapts to the preferences of the team. And every team has their own nuances, right?
That's
like,
right.
hey, we like our code a certain way, or here's how we document, or here's some of the practices we do. It might be different from team to team. They have their own language.
Yep.
So that's where it starts to get interesting to me. So how do you frame that? Because that begins to take into the that 10x engineer kind of mindset where, hey, I'm one person, but now I have a team of agents that are going to actually do the work, and they can go off and do longer form because they're frontier models. How do you think about that? Because that changes the domain intelligence. Now I have augmentation as the human in the loop in this case.
Yeah. And so like, for me in my area, I guess Connect is the furthest along this space where we're really trying to push in the direction of agentic experiences for end users, for people that are working in the business, and for people that are managing the business to be able to work on a much bigger surface area, to be able to look at not optimizing tasks or steps, but optimizing whole customer experiences. And so for me, this, like the agentic teammate starts to increase the surface area I can explore, but then also needs to be part of the team. Like you were talking about your daughter before, she's an Amazonian.
Yeah.
Her language has started to change. The way that
Yeah.
she talks about things starts to change. And I think that's what an AI teammate needs to do. Now, you might start with, certainly in the case of customer service, you start with your new knowledge bases. You have good SOPs that are well documented. I think that we'll increasingly see controls about the personality of the AI that's working in your team. And we'll also see that learning start to filtrate through. But I think like the same as onboarding any person into your group, they come with a set of skills, they come with a set of working styles and ways of interacting, and they learn and evolve
It's
over
work
time.
that learns you. I mean, it figures out your preferences.
Yeah.
Matt also said stats on productivity. He said 80 to 90% of the value will come from agents in the enterprise, an area that's been kind of slow to adopt because of many reasons. One is compliance, contracts. No one wants AI in these contracts. There's all kinds of resilience bars, there's security. So I think this would, to me, opens up a path, because with Forge, Nova Forge and agents, you essentially can go in and knock down some use cases to kind of go down the road that you built with the team with Connect, where how do I get my AI infrastructure, AI native foundation versus boiling over the ocean and trying to figure it out. So how do you see the enterprise adopting this? Because with this end-to-end workflow and coding, which is certainly being adopted, the enterprise now have a quick path to knock down some wins. I mean, Matt even was talking about ROI in the keynote. Usually don't hear ROI in keynotes at these technical conferences. But I think he's pointing out that you can knock down some wins to stay in the game, give the 6 months, and they showed a curve where it goes up. You start to see the real value. How do you see that value for enterprise? How should they think about it as they try to figure out how to make these agents work?
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing certainly within AWS, we're increasingly like expanding the building blocks that I think are necessary for an organization to create the space. A space that they feel is safe and secure, where you can really then start to unleash the creativity of the people within that organization. And certainly, I think the development community is like eager to do that. They're well positioned to do that, and I think that the technology is well developed for that. If I think about all of the other functions in an organization, defining that space, and you know what it's like. We talk about like data, and you don't want garbage, and you need good quality, but you need good boundaries around that. I think organizations will increasingly find their path to lay this foundation where they decrease the segmentation of their data. They find ways of putting the parameters around helping for this to be secure. I think we increasingly see the capability to say, well, if AI is going to be part of your team, what are the permissions that they need? How do you think about that permissions? How do you think about observability, which is super important? How can I interrogate what's happening? Can I understand the reasoning? All sort of part of the interactions you would have with another person in your group. And I think once you create that environment, I think organizations and enterprise will be able to embrace that chaos a little further.
You know, you have a unique history, and we talked about this last time coming into AWS, building the advertising business at Amazon. That's large scale. It was big numbers. You had to take a holistic view. We see Connect kind of on that trajectory. I can almost imagine with agentic that there's going to be an applied AI, so that's in your title, applied AI solutions. Well, first of all, what does that mean, applied AI solutions? But my guess is there's a holistic view here with the scale of AWS, and these three agents, just the beginning, it's Act 1. Will there be more Amazon applied solutions, or how do you see the ecosystem playing in there? Because one of the things that's jumping out on these large scale like AI solutions is that co-designing things together has been a really big part of successful companies, whether it's Amazon Web Services or NVIDIA. The co-designing the supply chain and the ecosystem, it's different kind of behavior because there's so much involved. How do you see the holistic Amazon Web Services picture?
Yeah. So firstly, like for me, like I guess the applied AI is really trying to hone in on getting AI to work in your business, in the operations, with your teams every day. And specifically, I'm focused on the business user and the business functions. And so that's why we sort of use this term applied AI, is like getting it to work. And I think that last mile is hard. That last mile of getting AI to meet your regulatory requirements while still getting the benefit of what AI is, which is the reasoning and the generative power. You know, if you just want predictable outcomes, you should just use ML. And so there is this, I think, work to do, and the blending of the software, the ML, the AI, and the environment that works in to actually get that reliable business operation.
We actually had a guest earlier, Anna Pinslick from SentinelOne, and they're all on Amazon Web Services now, but they're co-designing at the security level with all the Amazon scale. So they're taking advantage of those things. So that seems to be the pattern, that a feature, not a bug, where it's like, okay, you can choose to do your own thing or come in and apply this. Now, she's a senior leader. Obviously, she's the CTO, Chief Product Officer, but she's betting her business on AWS because of that scale.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for me, one of the, I guess, the opportunities that we have, and you sort of mentioned I worked in the ads business before, is that actually I have this very large, diverse business within Amazon where we're putting AI to work and have an opportunity to learn and refine that and actually work with those teams to develop something that we think actually this can work at scale, it can work reliably in a business, and it can work with great impact and ROI. And now we can productize that and put that in the hands of
and
customers.
your focus now on this large scale business problem is operational
so
architecture, system approach?
Yeah, I think Connect gives me a nice starting place. From a platform point of view, in terms of like, this is the software and the data layer, it's about managing high scale workflows with a lot of variability, with complex business requirements. And this is not something that is specific to contact centers. This is actually the capabilities you need in many functions. And then on top of that, you have these expert AI teammates. And I think we'll increasingly develop them in the customer service case, but we're exploring a number of new functional areas and vertical areas where we can bring together these AI teammates on top of this sort of quite flexible platform, and then put something in the hands of a business
vertical
user.
apps, the vertical agents are going to be really valuable, we think. You know, another announcement I want to get your thoughts on is the AI factories. You mentioned systems. That is not Outpost. It's not a bunch of edge boxes. It's a whole different approach. And then, you know, Mobile World Congress is coming up. We'll be at NRF retail event. You know, you're talking about an edge now coming around the corner where you have not just businesses wanting to have an on-prem AI factory with sovereignty. You have a hyper-converged edge environment where Spectrum and wireless and Ethernet, Wi-Fi collapse together. You built a little AI factory in a retail outlet like Nordstrom's, and you walk in, and I might want to have my preferences identified. Now, just walk out. They go privacy.
Yeah.
They got all the cameras, but I might want to declare, hey, recognize me and go get my model and see what's on my cart on my PC at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like with Just Walk Out, I think the team have done a very nice job here because it really is the unidentified movements There's no individual identification. It is anonymized sort of, short-term ID associated with the movements of a person in the store. No faces, no names, no anything of that.
Privacy.
Full
support.
privacy, but also the power of full visual reasoning. And so I think this is going to be an interesting area, and that whole area of visual reasoning, we're exploring a bunch of different applications of where would you put visual reasoning to work in an organization that solves other adjacent problems. And we're early in exploring them, and again, sort of really doing a lot of experimentation within Amazon. It gives me a very nice canvas to play with.
Well, we're going to have this conversation in the World Congress for sure, because we're going to table the conversation of, if I'm an employee of a company, and I go to a retail outlet on my personal time with my business phone, I might want to be identified. And then an agent can give me a VPN. So there's a lot of things that I see around the corner here. Maybe I'm just riffing and kind of dreaming, but when you have that kind of system scale, like new scenarios pop out.
There's a lot to unpack here. Panos leads the devices team at Amazon, Alexa Plus team. So Panos and I have this conversation of like, how do you think about the blending of my work and my personal? And let's say with Alexa Plus, will people want to do both? With Alexa Plus, will they want to interact on an Echo Show on both dimensions? And Panos and I go back and forth debating, like, what will people's preferences be? Where will customers go with this? And then how do we think about the privacy, the data, where does it start and end? How do you keep an experience really smooth, but also deal with many of these questions that you're raising? I don't know what the answer is.
They're hypothetical questions, but it takes the conversation of the frontier agents to the next level, because the Act 1 of Kiro autonomous coding with DevOps and security is saying, okay, this is Amazon in a box, basically. Here's your core team. You get basically engineers working for you for Amazon. For companies, that's great. Then they could also have other teammates saying, hey, figure out what an employee may want. So again, this kind of takes if agents continue to provide this work, new at scale use cases emerge that isn't just an ecosystem partner saying, hey, we're using agents for some domain specific application, which could be great. I was talking to Elastic and Glean, they love it. They're doing search. That's great, check. But the bigger picture is what I like about Connect is it's AI native at scale that has all these other benefits.
Yeah. And I think earlier today in the AI keynote, one of the things that I said was like, I think what's exciting is I don't know if we've even imagined really how we will work, what we will work on, how this collaboration with AI teammates works, and then how does that work in my personal life versus my work life, and what's this? Is there a divide? Is there not a divide? I think there's many, many open questions. Yeah. What's super exciting is, certainly for me, I'm constantly surprised by how many companies are like a little more adventurous than I might have expected in the past, and a little more willing to be disruptive. And for some organizations, that's the way that you operate every day. But for others, there are different styles and different approaches, and they have different history that they're pulling with them. It's interesting to me that I feel like more and more organizations are feeling ready for the disruption.
Well, that's why I like your business focus, because I think from the boardroom to the dorm room, there's demand. Like every boardroom's like, we need to have a position in AI. And we were speculating on the CUBE pod a couple of weeks ago that there's no fast follower action here, because in other markets, you'd be the fast follower. You kind of wait and see what happens. There's no time. If you're not in that, you could be an extinction event for a company. So I think the business people kind of see that. Mm-hmm. They just don't know how the mechanics work, and in the stack, or all the security concerns that they go through. So I think there's definitely demand for that, and I think this reInvent of the 13 years is a special moment, because it's for the first time the ground's shifting a little bit to abstract, like I said, abstract away data and work for more things. Yeah. More things are going to happen.
For me, what's interesting is I think the one-way door decision, your daughter will recognize that, the one-way door decision is to not get started.
Yeah.
Like, integrating AI and AI teammates into your business to change how you deliver products and services to customers, there's no opt-out on that. Like if you opt out, you're opting out of business. And I think that's the existential thing. So if there's no opt-out, you have to opt in. And the one-way door decision is not starting today. But I think once you get started, it is going to be a journey. And it will be a constant sort of discovery and iteration. And the technology will continue to change rapidly. So I think there's a fluidity that organizations need to embrace. But the really existential question for me is like, if you're not starting today, that's
I did like how
challenging.
Matt put the slide of 3 to 6 months in, the agents will behave part of your team. He actually shared that from internal data. So I think that's motivating, gives people a lot more confidence. Colleen, my final question for you is for the folks watching, you're inside the machine of AWS and Amazon. You're here at reInvent. You're the keynote. You're talking to all the analysts. What's your big takeaway? If you had to kind of boil it down to the key things that this reInvent is delivering in terms of the 20-mile stare or a future path, how would you share your opinion on the relevance, the key things that are the most relevant?
So one thing I hear a lot of organizations talk about is automation and efficiency. And I get it. That seems interesting. But I think it undersells the opportunity ahead of us. This is about transformation. You have to be willing to put everything on the table. How work happens today, all your working assumptions, every bottleneck that you've optimized around, every SOP, you have to put it all on the table. Because the way that you can work in future, the only thing I'm confident on is it's going to be dramatically different than today. And unless you're willing to do the transformation, I think you're going to only partially realize the benefits.
Yeah, awesome. And I've heard some people say, nail your deterministic workflows that you want to keep down, and then let the AI help you grow that from there.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. Colleen, thank you for taking the time. I know you're super busy. Thanks for sharing with theCUBE. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, John.
All right, I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. Day 2 coming to an end here. Again, really a seminal moment for AWS as the data and the agentic era enters in. I'm John Furrier. Thanks for watching.